Greetings, Shockwave. My designation, Soundwave. I have stumbled upon your recent developments regarding combiner technology. I will be traveling to your coordinates so that we can continue your work. Together. Transmission terminated.
So, when we started storyboarding for Transformers United, Soundwave was always a character I wanted to make a big debut in the show. I wanted him to be very important. Soundwave has always been a fan favorite of mine. He is just a character that I really love. But as is the name of the game with United, Kyle and I both agreed that we wanted to do something with the character that hasn't necessarily been done before, something unique. So when we were writing Soundwave, we knew that we wanted him to be a big antagonist. We wanted him to be a major threat in the world of Transformers United. And so, he kind of took the stage after Megatron died, and we wanted him to be an exponentially larger threat than Megatron was. And that's a totally different dynamic, because Megatron is usually the big bad in Transformers, but we wanted Soundwave to be a bigger threat. So when we were coming up with his character, I knew I wanted him to stay true to the original in terms of he was very cold, very calculating. He didn't have a lot of personality. He did what he wanted to do, and he, didn't really care what other people thought. And then I wanted to take a little bit of aspect, not from G1, but from Prime, where Soundwave was a little bit more, he kept to himself a little bit more, but he wasn't afraid to show everybody who's boss. So I kind of wanted to take a hybrid of all these different qualities I liked about Soundwave and add in some stuff that I thought would be good to the character. So what we did was we made him this mad scientist from the golden age of Cybertron. So he's really old. He's one of the original Cybertronians. So he's been around for a long time, which in itself makes him a bigger threat. And so he actually was placed in prison because he was experimenting with Cybertronian lives, which at that time was seen as atrocious. It was a crime against what we would call crime against humanity. It was just unthinkable. It's kind of like the human centipede of their world. Like, he was that nuts doctor who was stitching people together. And so Soundwave got placed in prison because of those reasons. And, he, of course, is not really a psychopath, but he's crazy to the point where he is proud of what he's done, and he sees it as a contribution to, Cybertronian society, and even now into the current timeline that United is running, we know that it is, more socially accepted to be a combiner. But back then, he was a criminal in doing it. But Soundwave is very possessive over his work, and he's proud of what he's done. And so when writing him, we tried to make him in control at all times. And that, I think, is his biggest attribute, is he only speaks when absolutely necessary. He doesn't mince words. He's very direct, very to the point. And he has everything planned out like 3 steps ahead of everybody. And that was something we wanted to be a big thing, a big part of Soundwave's character, is that he was always 3 steps ahead of everybody. So when you finally caught up to him, you face palmed. You're like, oh my gosh, how is he this far ahead of us? So Soundwave in himself was always meant to be a big part of the Transformers United universe, and we tried our hardest to make him menacing and conniving and diabolical and commanding, and I think we did a pretty good job of representing all those qualities and creating a Soundwave that we haven't quite seen before. His voice is very interesting. Kyle and I went around a lot trying to determine how his voice would sound. I knew from the get-go that I wanted to be responsible for his voice, and we tried a couple takes where I spoke and I did what the G1 actor did, and I would talk real low like this and then vocode it. And that just didn't really sound like what we were going for. We couldn't quite get it right, and so we went with another solution. And what we did was we took this program online. It's a text to speech demo, and I actually found it through another YouTube channel. And there's a setting on there called Will Bad Guy, and so this audio, you type whatever you want in, and it reads it in this really sinister, gravelly, well, not really gravelly, but really sinister sounding voice. And so we do Soundwave's lines. The first pass is putting his lines into this text-to-speech demo, so automatically he's got a very computerized, not normal sounding voice. Something sounds off about him, and that's because we're using a text-to-speech program. It gives him that disjointed, really choppy voice pattern. And then we run it through RoboVox, which is an iPad app that I used a lot in my early days of voice acting. And there's a setting called Tronic on RoboVox that I just found. It's just the best thing I found, the easiest and the best thing that I found that sounds like a Soundwave vocoder. And so what we'll do is we'll play his audio back off this text-to-speech program, and we'll run it through RoboVox, and that's how we create Soundwave's voice. And we've run into a couple problems. There's some words that he doesn't pronounce absolutely correct, but it's kind of the nature of the beast when you're using this computerized voice as the base for Soundwave. But overall, Kyle and I are both extremely happy with how the voices turned out, and we're really glad with how the character is being received, and we hope that you guys love him too.